They feel empty. Do narcissists care that you're no longer with them? Have you ever wondered what happens in the mind of a narcissist when you walk away? Do they feel the sting of your absence, or does their mask of indifference hide the emptiness inside? For anyone who has dealt with a narcissist, these questions are haunting. You gave so much of yourself, your time, energy, and love, only to feel discarded and unappreciated. But here's the twist. Behind their cold facade, narcissists often wrestle with feelings they can't admit to themselves, let alone anyone else. So, do they care that you're no longer with them? Stick around, because this discussion will unravel the layers of their emotional world, showing how they cope, or fail to cope, when you leave their lives. This video isn't just about understanding the narcissist, it's about empowering you. By the end, you'll gain insight into their inner turmoil, their attempts to fill the void, and the steps you can take to heal and move forward. Don't miss a moment of this deep dive into the psyche of the narcissist. But before we begin, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more insightful content, and share it with anyone who might benefit from this discussion. Let's get started. Narcissists live in a world meticulously constructed to revolve around their need for control, validation, and admiration. Every interaction, every relationship, is carefully orchestrated to sustain their fragile sense of superiority. When you were part of their life, you played a crucial role in this dynamic. Whether knowingly or unknowingly, you became a source of emotional energy that fed their ego and soothed the insecurities they so desperately sought to hide. Your attention, affection, and even your frustration were all forms of supply that kept their sense of self inflated. But what happens when you're no longer there to play that role? What happens when the steady stream of validation you provided suddenly disappears? Initially, they might seem indifferent or even relieved by your absence. They may act as though losing you has had no impact on them at all, putting on a mask of apathy or even smug satisfaction. But this facade hides a deeper truth. Your absence creates a ripple in the carefully controlled environment they've constructed. It leaves a mark, a void, that they cannot easily ignore. While they may pretend to move on effortlessly, the reality is that your departure unsettles them in ways they are often unwilling to admit, even to themselves. At the core of their existence lies a dependency on narcissistic supply, the emotional energy they extract from others to maintain their inflated sense of self. It's not just about admiration or praise, it's about using others to prop up the fragile identity they've built. When you're gone, that supply is abruptly cut off, forcing them to confront an emptiness they've been running from their entire lives. This isn't an ordinary emptiness. It's a deep, gnawing void that no amount of external validation or new sources of supply can truly fill. It's the kind of emptiness that drives their relentless pursuit of control, attention, and admiration. The cruel irony is that the very person they devalued and discarded is often the one whose absence they feel the most acutely. Your presence provided them with something unique, a sense of stability and affirmation that they struggle to replicate. You might wonder why, if they truly felt your absence so deeply, they didn't value you while you were still in their life. The answer lies in their inability to process emotions in a healthy, meaningful way. Narcissists are masters of deflection, avoiding their own pain by projecting blame onto others. They lack the emotional depth to fully appreciate the connections they have, often viewing relationships through a lens of utility rather than mutual care or love. When you leave, they don't interpret it as the loss of a meaningful bond. Instead, they perceive it as a personal failure, a crack in their carefully curated image of dominance and control. This is why their initial reaction to your departure might not be sadness or remorse, but instead anger, indifference, or even a frantic attempt to replace you with someone else. These responses are defense mechanisms designed to shield them from the painful truth that your absence has left a void they can't easily fill. Their attempts to move on quickly, whether through new relationships or other means of distraction, are not about finding happiness or closure. These actions are a desperate bid to avoid facing the vulnerability your departure has exposed. Replacing you is not about finding someone better or more compatible. It's about regaining the control and supply they feel they'd lost. But no matter how quickly they try to fill the gap, they will inevitably feel the sting of your absence. The new sources of validation they seek will never quite measure up, because those connections lack the depth and understanding you once provided. It's natural to question whether they miss you for who you are, or if they simply miss the control they had over you. The distinction is important because narcissists often conflate love with power. Their feelings are not rooted in genuine affection or emotional connection. Instead, they are tied to how you made them feel about themselves. They miss the way you elevated their sense of importance, the way your attention and energy bolstered their fragile self-image. They don't miss you in the way a healthy person would miss a loved one. They don't long for your companionship, your laughter, or your unique qualities. Instead, they long for the emotional leverage they had over you, the ability to manipulate your feelings and dictate the terms of your relationship. Your absence forces them to confront their own vulnerabilities in ways they find deeply unsettling. Without you, they are left to grapple with the insecurities and fears they work so hard to suppress. This is a reality they deeply resent, not because they miss you as a person, but because they miss the power and control you represented. Their world, so dependent on the contributions of others, becomes a colder and emptier place when you are no longer there to play your part. And while they may never openly acknowledge this, the impact of your absence will linger, challenging the very foundation of the world they built around their need for validation and control. As time passes, even the most self-absorbed narcissist begins to notice the cracks in the facade they work so hard to maintain. They won't readily admit it, even to themselves, but a subtle awareness starts to creep in. The carefully constructed illusion of their superiority and control begins to falter as they realize their efforts to replace you aren't delivering the satisfaction they anticipated. Despite their best attempts to find someone new to fill the role you once held, no one else can replicate the unique way you supported them, tolerated them, and endured their behavior. You were not just another person in their life. You were someone who unknowingly provided stability in their chaotic inner world, someone who filled the gaps in their carefully curated image. This realization, however, does not stem from a place of love or genuine regret. Instead, it arises from their frustration at failing to find someone else who fits so seamlessly into their web of control. The truth is, narcissists are endlessly searching for validation and emotional fuel to sustain their fragile egos. When you leave, they lose a significant source of this supply, and while they may try to downplay the impact of your absence, it disrupts the balance of their world. You were, in many ways, an integral part of their strategy for maintaining control over their narrative and those around them. Now that you're gone, they're left scrambling to rebuild their carefully structured reality, but each attempt falls short. The new people they bring into their lives may initially seem like perfect replacements, but over time, these relationships fail to provide the same depth of benefit that yours did. They find themselves dissatisfied, comparing their new sources of supply to you, even if they'd never admit it out loud. They begin to realize that what they've lost cannot be easily replaced. So, do narcissists care that you're no longer in their lives? The answer is both complex and paradoxical. On one hand, they care deeply in the sense that your absence disrupts their plans and unsettles the stability they had relied on. They hate the idea of losing someone who made them feel significant, important, and validated. For them, relationships are not about mutual care or connection, but about power dynamics. Losing you feels like losing control, and that is a loss they resent deeply. On the other hand, they don't care in the way you might hope or expect. Their care is entirely self-serving, rooted in their insatiable need for supply rather than any genuine affection or remorse. They miss the utility you provided, not the person you are. This distinction is vital to understand as you navigate the aftermath of your relationship with them. As you move forward, it's essential to remember that your worth was never tied to how the narcissist treated you. Their inability to love, appreciate, or respect you says far more about their own limitations and emotional immaturity than it does about you. Narcissists are trapped in a cycle of self-interest and manipulation, unable to form the kind of deep, meaningful connections that healthy relationships require. By walking away, you have broken free from this toxic cycle. You've reclaimed your autonomy and taken the first, and most crucial, step toward healing and self-reclamation. The narcissist, on the other hand, will continue to grapple with their own emptiness. While they may project an image of confidence and indifference, this is merely a mask to hide the discomfort they feel. Their emptiness is a direct result of their inability to form genuine connections, and it's a burden they will carry long after you've moved on. The void left by your absence is theirs to bear, not yours to fill or fix. By removing yourself from their life, you've not only protected your own well-being, but also given yourself the space to rediscover your worth, free from the distortions of their influence. It's natural to wonder if they regret losing you, but the reality is that their regret, if it exists, will always be tangled in their need for validation and control. They may feel the sting of your absence, but it won't inspire the kind of reflection or change you might hope for. Narcissists are notoriously resistant to self-awareness and accountability. Their focus will remain on finding new sources of supply, even as they quietly recognize that what they had with you was unique. This recognition, however, doesn't equate to remorse. It's simply an acknowledgement of a loss they can't fully understand or appreciate. Your decision to walk away from the narcissist's grip was a courageous act of self-preservation. It marked the beginning of a journey toward healing and self-discovery. The narcissist may feel an emptiness without you, but that emptiness belongs to them, not you. It is a reflection of the life they've chosen to lead, a life devoid of true connection and empathy. You, on the other hand, have the opportunity to build a life rooted in authenticity, respect, and love, free from the shadows of their manipulations. This is your time to reclaim your story and live it on your terms, knowing that your worth was never defined by their inability to see it. Thank you for spending time with me today as we explored this deeply personal and empowering topic. Remember, the narcissist's inability to appreciate your worth doesn't define you. Your strength lies in your ability to recognize toxic behavior, walk away, and rebuild your life on your terms. They may feel the void of your absence, but you are so much more than the role they tried to confine you to. If this video resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more insights and discussions. Share this with someone who might need encouragement and validation in their journey. Together, we can create a community of support and empowerment. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.
If God doesn't want you to fall prey to narcissists, this happens. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here today, and I really appreciate you taking the time to stop by. Today's topic is one that I think a lot of people will resonate with, whether they've been through something similar or know someone who has. We're going to be talking about what happens when God intervenes in your life because He is not willing to see you drift away, especially when you're trapped in the shackles of a narcissist. It's a profound, delicate topic because narcissistic relationships can be incredibly toxic, emotionally draining, and spiritually exhausting. They pull you away from your true self, distort your perception, and make you feel trapped, often leaving you in a fog that makes it hard to see reality for what it is. But here's the thing: God sees you, even when you can't see yourself. He's always there, watching over you, even when you feel lost, broken, or too weak to make a change. When He knows that you're drifting too far away from the path He's set for you. Especially under the influence of a narcissist, He steps in, and today we're going to explore what that looks like. When you're in a relationship with a narcissist, whether it's a romantic partner, a friend, or even a family member, the dynamics of that relationship become very one-sided. The narcissist thrives on control, manipulation, and power, all of which can lead you to lose sight of who you really are. You might start to feel small, insignificant, and constantly second-guess yourself. The narcissist will likely chip away at your self-worth, slowly and methodically, leaving you feeling dependent on their approval and attention, which are often given in a calculated manner to keep you under their influence. It's easy to see how someone can drift away from their true self in this kind of environment. But what about your relationship with God? As much as a narcissist tries to isolate you from friends, family, and loved ones, the most devastating aspect of their influence is how they can distance you from your faith. Whether you realize it or not, the longer you remain in a toxic relationship, the further you can stray from the purpose and destiny God has set for you. But God doesn't sit idly by while His children suffer. He knows your heart, your struggles, and the pain you're going through. Even when you feel trapped and hopeless, He's already working behind the scenes, moving pieces, opening doors, and preparing to pull you out of that darkness. One of the first things that happens when God is not willing to see you drift away in the shackles of a narcissist is that He begins to stir something within you. It often starts small, like a whisper in your heart, a feeling that something is wrong, or a growing discomfort that you can no longer ignore. This is the Holy Spirit prompting you, urging you to see the truth of the situation you're in. You might begin to notice things about the narcissist that you hadn't before. The way they manipulate situations, the emotional abuse they inflict, or how their behavior contradicts the love and compassion that God desires for your life. This is the awakening phase. God is helping you open your eyes to see clearly what you've been missing. It can be a painful realization because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. But this is an essential part of the process. You have to confront the reality of the situation in order to break free. In addition to awakening you, God will start to strengthen you. You might not feel it immediately, especially if the narcissist has left you feeling emotionally and spiritually depleted. But God will begin to restore your spirit, piece by piece. Maybe it's through scripture, prayer, or the encouragement of a friend who speaks truth into your life. God works in mysterious ways, but He always knows exactly what you need in each moment. The strength He gives you isn't just emotional resilience, it's a spiritual fortitude. God empowers you to stand up to the narcissist's manipulation, to recognize their tactics for what they are, and to reclaim your identity. It's not an easy process because narcissists are experts at gaslighting and making you doubt yourself. But God's strength is greater than any earthly power, and when He is with you, no weapon formed against you can prosper. What often follows is a separation, either gradual or sudden, depending on the situation. God will create circumstances that help you distance yourself from the narcissist. Sometimes it's an obvious fallout or a situation where the narcissist's true colors are fully revealed, and you are left with no choice but to walk away. Other times, it's more subtle. Maybe God moves you to a different place, brings new people into your life who offer support, or shifts the narcissist's attention elsewhere. However it happens, this separation is God's way of pulling you out of the storm. He knows that you can't heal or rediscover your true self as long as you're still caught in the narcissist's web. Once the separation occurs, God doesn't just leave you there to fend for yourself. He draws you back to Him, inviting you into a deeper, more intimate relationship. This is often the point where you rediscover your faith, your purpose, and the person you were always meant to be. Healing after a relationship with a narcissist is a long process, and it's not something that happens overnight. But with God's guidance, you begin to reclaim the parts of yourself that were lost along the way. You start to see yourself through His eyes again, loved, worthy, and whole. He reminds you that you were never alone, even in the darkest moments, and that He had a plan for your life all along. Sometimes, the hardest part is forgiving yourself for staying in the relationship for as long as you did. You might feel guilt or shame for not leaving sooner, for allowing the narcissist to have control over you. But God doesn't hold that against you. His grace is infinite, and He understands the complexity of human emotions and relationships. He calls you to forgive yourself just as He has already forgiven you. And in that forgiveness, you find freedom. Freedom from the past, freedom from the narcissist's influence, and freedom to move forward into the life that God has prepared for you. It's a journey of rediscovery, of letting go of the chains that once held you back, and stepping into the fullness of who you are in Christ. When God steps in to rescue you from the shackles of a narcissist, it's not just about removing you from a toxic situation. It's about restoring your soul. It's about bringing you back to a place of peace, joy, and spiritual alignment. It's about reminding you of your worth and the unique purpose He has for your life. And it's about walking with you every step of the way as you rebuild and move forward. So, to everyone who has stuck around until the end of this video, thank you so much for being here. I truly hope that this message has resonated with you, that it has given you hope and a sense of clarity if you find yourself in a similar situation. Remember, God sees you, He hears your prayers, and He will never let you drift away, especially when you're caught in the chains of a narcissist. If this has touched your heart or you know someone who could benefit from this message, please feel free to share it. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I'm so grateful to have this platform to share these messages with you, and I look forward to connecting with you in the comments below. Take care, and God bless.
They feel empty. Do narcissists care that you're no longer with them? Have you ever wondered what happens in the mind of a narcissist?